Minister in the UK. What I'm going to look at, but hand over to Begonia Nyara, who is the Spanish representative on the RENATE board. And Begonia is going to introduce her colleague, Cristina Carrera from Diaconia in Spain, an NGO in Spain, on the value of legal practitioners' work. And I have to say that we are stuck for time, so if we can keep things moving along swiftly, that would be appreciated. So,
I will be quick, I promise.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can pass the presentation and leave the time to Cristina to present it, to do her presentation.
Perfect. Thanks,
better.
Thanks, Begonia. In fact, I have prepared a PowerPoint presentation, but I have pasted into the chat. Well, thanks once again for trusting me. Thanks, Begonia, for your invitation back to almost 18 months ago. And thanks to Ruth, that was extremely patient with me during the research project. I was one of those 7 Spanish legal practitioners intervening in the research phase, and together with some of my colleagues, some of them are present today. Thanks, Lorena and Rosa, for joining us today. And most of us work with human trafficking victims on a daily basis, because we belong to NGOs, to civil society, to those NGOs fully devoted in combating human trafficking. As Brian said, it's challenging. Human trafficking is challenging. It's not lucrative at all, but it's very enriching. I think that we legal practitioners have the opportunity to impact on very damaged lives that are deserved to be lived in a dignified way. And that is something that I always want to highlight. We're talking about victims with regards to criminal approach, but they are subject of rights as each one of us here today. So having the opportunity to impact in their lives is very enriching. I think the most honest approach for me is to share some key issues which are the result of my knowledge, my experience, my reflections, my concerns during these last 30-something years of legal practicing. And most of the key issues have been already mentioned. And it's very interesting how different countries with different situations, different political systems, different legal systems, civil law countries, common law countries, we do share the same obstacles, concerns. It's really interesting. I've really enjoyed every presentation. And well, you know that Spain, we receive mass migration because of our geographical position. We receive migrants from the Americas, from Africa, from Eastern Europe country, from the Middle East, and from the Far East. And among all those people coming to Spain, of course, there are traffickers and smugglers and abusers, but there are also very vulnerable people, sometimes in need for asylum, and/or these asylum needs are hiding human trafficking. Human trafficking is very invisible and is hidden. So we legal practitioners cannot expect that human trafficking will come to us. We need to find human trafficking. We need to look for it. And that has been my main concern for many, many decades, because it seems that we legal practitioners only intervene for crime prosecution. But I think that we can have a very important role in prevention. the 4 pillars of the first UN Convention for the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women back to 1979 provided for the 4 Ps, which are the basis or which, according to my opinion, should be the basis of our legal practicing. P for prevention. It has already been mentioned that specialized training to legal practitioners is key. All ladies like me, we did not receive any training back in our law schools, and we had to learn from experience. We do not have a fully devoted in combating human trafficking act in Spain, and that makes us very creative. We have created synergies with the rest of the relevant actors, and taking into account also that not only we are receiving mass migration, but also, unfortunately, Spain is the first European country in terms of prostitution, and the 3rd one in the world. We just have Thailand and Puerto Rico, who have higher figures than us. So P for prevention, including not only specialized training, and I really need to thank the RENATE team, because following my participation in the research phase, I began to think, and some of us are boosting the specialized and training for legal practitioners in different Spanish bar associations. You know that in Spain, we do have the right for free legal assistance, not only for victims, but also for those who cannot afford the wages of lawyers. And I need to say that for the last 18 months, we have trained up to 5, 6, 7, 8 bar associations in Spain. So really, I really need to thank to the RENATE team for making me think how we can prevent, by providing specialized training, the cycle of exploitation, even before it has been materialized. But also prevention means to ask the right questions in the right atmosphere, using the right language in our borders, in our proceedings, in the Spanish territory, for example, in the asylum interviews, and also when we are hosting in our accommodation facilities potential victims of human trafficking or victims of gender violence or asylum seekers, and we don't know what is behind that necessity, that need to ask for asylum. If we use indicators and ask the right questions, we can prevent, and we can begin to get very valuable information and data to facilitate the investigations of our colleagues of the law enforcement bodies that may lead to a criminal proceeding. The second P is the P for protection. I do also think that we legal practitioners do have a special role in protecting victims. Victims who are granted with the status of victims are granted also with the protection of specific acts in Spain. We do have a 2015 Victims Protection Act. So we can, by using this daily work with them, we can join them in all their testimonies, in all their actions for being granted with resident permits. The third P is the P for prosecution, both extrajudicial and judicial. I do myself exercise what is called in Spain the private accusation criminal action, and I think is key, because the prosecutors ask questions, but we can prepare those questions in advance because we meet and we see and we intervene with human trafficking victims on a daily basis. We know if they have had nightmares, if they're receiving phone calls, if they're stressed. Imelda, thanks very much for mentioning trauma. Trauma is key. It's very different to intervene with a victim that has been rescued recently with one that has not been yet exploited, or with someone that is coming from a different culture, speaking a different language, and not trusting in us, legal practitioners, law enforcement body, judges, magistrates, and prosecutors. So it's very, very important when we intervene with them in both extrajudicial or judicial criminal proceedings to not only have the technical law knowledge, but also to have this cultural, gender-based human rights approach, because we cannot forget that human trafficking is not only a very serious crime, it's also a very serious violation of every and all of the 30 articles of the 1948 Human Rights Declaration. If you go through each one of them, we can double check and we can confirm that they are violated when a human trafficking situation takes place. And the last P, the P for partnerships, is also key. Lobbying has been mentioned, and how we create synergies and collaborate and cooperate with law enforcement bodies for identification purposes. This morning, I spent my morning, many hours with law enforcement bodies and victim for identification purpose. I already knew her. She already knew me. So she felt better knowing that there was someone without a uniform asking questions, using the right language, not talking about sexual work, not talking about, but using the right words. Someone that is being abused, someone that is suffering, someone that has been maybe smuggled, someone that has been trafficked, and try to avoid these glamorous and politically correct, allow me, I'm not a politically correct person, language that sometimes we use to hide very serious situations by not naming them. Let me just finish this couple of minutes by sharing some good practices that we are developing in Spain, not only by Diaconia, which is the NGO I work for, but by all the most important NGOs in combating human trafficking. So we have sat together and decide which are the right questions in order to detect potential human trafficking victims among those who are asking and seeking for asylum in Spain in 4 different moments: in the Spanish borders, in the Spanish territories, especially in the asylum interviews, in other proceedings such as gender violence or labor issues, and also in our accommodation facilities. We're also working in indicators to early detect situations of human trafficking within the Spanish health system. Doctors, nurses receive many ladies who have diseases and who feel bad because they're being abused. By asking the right question, by involving them, we can break the cycle of exploitation. We have also developed an algorithm based of artificial intelligence who will be downloaded in Telegram in order to detect risky conversations depending on the language, the questions, and what is being offered to that person interacting through Telegram. And once we detect that that's a risky conversation, a red alert comes up. So that person can choose if she wants to talk to us, and we can also involve law enforcement bodies. And just to finish, I think it's key, and I always repeat this once and once again, that building relationships, professional relationships based in respect and trust are key in order to be more effective in combating human trafficking. Thank you very much for your patience and for waiting for me, the very last one.
No, thank you so much, Cristina. That was excellent. And it's so obvious that you are a person who has been dealing as a legal practitioner at a human level with the intricacies of the vulnerabilities of human trafficking. And you've come to us this evening, having spent the day working with some people who have fallen victim to human trafficking, and yet you've shared your enthusiasm and information. It has been
yeah,
so
well, I need to say that I'm a former victim of gender violence, and that's one of the reasons why many decades ago I decided to transform all those suffering and to become from victim to survivor to resilient and to someone that can do something in order to combat these so serious violences against women. So thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing so honestly and so sensitively with us. Thank you, Cristina. It was a pleasure.